Yeah, hi everybody. Um, I wanted to. I've got no sort of pre notes for this, but I just wanted to go over a couple of things because um, a lot of us that sort of want to full time or spend more time on vehicles do so for enormous amounts of reasons. Just like people want to get fit, to get into uh, to lose some weight because of a health condition, or to make a football team, or to train for a marathon, to do some fundraising. Full timing is a little bit like that. Now, um, I'm not going to plagiarise other people that are on YouTube, but obviously when you watch clips on YouTube, you sort of pick up on some of their thoughts. Some you agree and some you disagree, and you sort of carry them forward. So they made the odd comment that you may have heard before, but it's sort of stuck in my head. So it's relevant to me. It may be relevant to you. The first one was, I didn't come up with any of these. It was just sort of, is that um, the difference between people that are homeless and people that are houseless. I just get the impression most people that are on the YouTube community are fairly intelligent people, and within reason we can pretty much decide what we want to do for ourselves. We're not sort of, in a lot of cases, forced into doing something. And that's the rub here, because if you're sort of up against it and you've been evicted from your home and you've got no money and your relationship's ended and all the other things that happen to you, and you go to a sort of rock bottom, in a way it's kind of easy in a way, because a lot of the decisions have been made for you. So then really living in a car because you can't live anywhere else and it's not through choice, and then adapting towards it. And people I know who've gone from doing that to not going back to living in a house and living a conventional life. So in a way they've been forced into it, which means that their decision's a lot easier to make. They've had no choice about it. But for the rest of us, I think I'm in this bracket, we do have choice. We have an option not to go down this lifestyle. And it's really weird because sort of when I've sort of muted it along to my friends, they first thing they said, "Oh, I'm thinking about going full time and living in a van, and it's going to be a stealth van, and for all lots of reasons that they don't understand, but we do." The first thing they say is, "Why? What's happening? Are you short of money? Do you need to borrow some money? Have you lost your job?" And I'll say, "No, no, no. I haven't lost anything. I just want to try and go down a different path, and my head's taking me down this way, and there's something niggling up here that won't go away, and I want to do something about it." And going away for a weekend or 3 or 4 days is great, but we all know it's not the same as severing ties. So the decision to put ourselves into an uncomfort situation is one that we've made proactively, and that makes it even more difficult because the close decisions, any decision that's very difficult to make must mean that they're both the same type of decision, both good decisions. There's no wrong or right way of doing it. So we're putting ourselves into this position of being houseless, but not obviously homeless. So it's tricky, and coming to terms with it and trying it, and is interesting because you're trying to take yourself out of your own comfort zone, which is not the norm, because we're always told that we sort of need to buy a house, get married, have kids, etc. Now, from my point, I've not done the last two. I've not got married, and I've not got any children. I just very early on made a decision not wanted to do that. But obviously, we all need somewhere to live, so I've obviously gone down that route of having a property. And really, in a way, I watched a YouTube TED sort of clip a few weeks ago on sort of minimalism and the philosophy that the more stuff you have, the less you can do, and it sort of becomes a burden in your life. And I've sort of thought very long and hard, and at the end of the week I was sort of moving some stuff out of room and noticed all the stuff that I've never really used. I brought on the spur of the moment, not because I was unhappy. I used it for a little bit, and then quite early on I got bored with it. I mean, it can be computer games or sort of Xbox games going back a while, or different little hobbies that my friends were into and I wanted to get into, but it didn't really pan out to anything. Yet there's some things I've done that I've always stuck with. I do quite a lot of running and cycling and such like, and when I look at my trainers, and I saved some of the old trainers that I use for running on the beach and stuff like, and they've got memories in them. Them trainers have done lots of miles with me, and I can remember running this marathon and that marathon and doing this with them. But really, when you think about it, objects really, you may link them over to memories and experiences, but think back of all the things that you've done in your life and all the experiences you had, they've always been about things that you've done, not things that you've got. Yeah, you need objects to be able to do things. I remember having some great fun with my I had my first proper racer bike at about the age of 8. Of course, you need the bike initially, but the experiences were not about the bike. It was about the doing. It was about being with people. So it struck a chord, this minimalist concept, which is what I've been trying to do anyway, of getting rid of a lot of stuff that I don't need, and then thinking to myself, do I need to buy that? Is it going to be useful? So that's that concept. But going back to what I was saying earlier about sort of the philosophy of putting ourselves in these positions of being, in effect, houseless. It's difficult. It's a difficult thing to sort of explore and to make decisions on. But the most important thing we need to remember is that we can always change it back. We're not sort of going to hospital and having major surgery and touch and go whether we're going to survive, or there's far people in the world who are far worse than what we're in. So we've only got something to gain. We can't lose anything. If we go out and sort of try the sort of full timing, and it doesn't work after a month or a week or 6 months, and I find myself coming back on here and coming back onto this YouTube and giving you a debrief of how it all went wrong, I've not really lost anything. What I don't want to do is get to a situation of being in my 50s and 60s and having an illness or whatever, having some commitments, and think, what, I wish I'd have done that and didn't do it, especially when you had the ability to do it. And that's the other thing here. I have the ability to go and put myself into a full-time situation on the road, and all the good things. And I've only just talked about all the problems and negative things. All the positive things, very difficult to put into words. The experiences. I just remember waking up in southern Spain and opening the door first thing in the morning, and the sort of listening to the people just starting to get up and go for their walks, and people running, and the sun coming up, and the waves lapping, coming closer to my vehicle, and then just reading, doing a little bit of reading, or sort of just soaking it all up. And they're just sort of great moments. But to do that on a full-time level is going to take a different type of organisation, going over for a couple of weeks and doing something full-time. I've obviously had to change the way I work, because I've always been in a situation where work tends to be, you have to be at certain places at certain times, because you're working around for other people, even if you're self-employed. Because self-employment doesn't mean you just work around yourself when you want, because some jobs in self-employment you have to be, if you're a self-employed painter and decorator, you have to be at the job site of your customer at a certain time and date. I've got some skills in some areas where it means that I can pretty much do things remotely. Now, I'm 42, so my IT knowledge is very limited. I remember going to school and there was one Apple Mac to 800 kids, and if you got 5 minutes on it while you were queuing up once a term, you were lucky. So I've had to learn as I go along. But I think I've got to the stage now, begrudgingly, not because I wanted to learn, but because I've had to, that I could pretty much run my area of work remotely, within reason. And that gives me open the opportunity of spending more time abroad. And flights are quite cheap now. I've got no health major big issue. I had some surgery a couple of years ago, which meant that sort of had to do quite a lot of appointments. But they're coming to an end now. I've got some more surgery, actually, ironically, next week, sort of routine stuff. But after that, I should be pretty much, touch wood, IKEA, furniture here, okay to sort of be able to take myself abroad for at least 4 or 5 weeks time, and then fly back to the UK and plan them events, and therefore be able to get the cheaper air flights. And regarding working, I'm pretty fit. I'm not bothered if I'm cleaning the toilets or sitting in a boardroom meeting. I'm pretty flexible. I just want to make sure that if I'm running low on income and I'm spending more than I'm earning over a long period of time, then I can sort of make sure that I bolster that up. So I've got to be cautious of that, because I enjoy work. Bizarrely, it sort of gives me a focus, and I do like the concept that I'm meeting other people and I'm getting paid for it, and I do all the jobs I've done. I've liked doing them, and I've made sure that any jobs that I don't like doing, very quickly I just don't do them, because there's nothing worse than doing something you don't like doing. And there's jobs out there, if you're being adaptable, and some of the jobs that I've done that would probably a lot of people wouldn't do, I found the most enjoyable. So I'm up on that side for a challenge. So what I want to do in my next one, I think, is, before I go, as always, people out there, comments, I've had a couple on the last one I made, which were great, encouraging me to do some more, so here I am. I want to talk about long-term financial planning, because a lot of the time, if you're sort of not lazy but disorganised as me, you don't really think long-term financially. You might think about paying direct debits every month and whatever, but you don't really think, this is my income, this is my outcome. You don't really go into the spreadsheets type of thing. But I've done one, and it's quite an eye-opener when you start putting figures in for mobile phone contracts and gym memberships, how quickly these things mount up. And so I'm going to have to sort of, not because I have to, but I want to sort of face that and challenge that and think, you know what, I can do without this, or I can do with